Awesome! Hello and welcome to Rec Chat, where students and professionals can chat about all things collegiate recreation. I'm your host, Rochelle Harvey, coming to you from my professional home at American University in Washington, D.C. Thank you all for joining me today. I'd also like to give a big shout out to the Rec Chat crew, which includes Earl, Will, Zach, and Max, for helping plan and execute today's Google Hangout. As always, we'd like to give a huge thank you to NIRSA, Leaders in Collegiate Recreation, for marketing today's Google Hangout. We only have one major announcement today, and that is that we would love for everyone to be a part of the show. So if you have any questions, please tweet at us. Please make sure that you are engaging in the conversation, and that if you would like to, we also have the little button for questions and comments on this actual site. So make sure that you shoot it through YouTube, and we will try to get to you and answer your questions as smoothly as possible. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and introduce all of our folks. So I will start again. My name is Rochelle Harvey, and I'm here at American University. I'm prior Texas State University alum and also Portland State University alum. So Will, could you go ahead and introduce yourself for us?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Rec Chat. My name is Will Trent. I'm the incoming NIRSA student leader. I'm currently at James Madison University. I'm a first-year GA for marketing and social media here. I'm studying sport and rec management for my master's. I'm a Virginia Tech alum, go Hokies, and interned for a year as a post-grad intern at Duke University in campus recreation there. So really excited to be here and to have this platform to be able to communicate with you all and talk about rec.
Awesome. Tiffany, how about you?
My name is Tiffany Weiser. I am a grad assistant at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln in the Marketing and Promotions department, and this is my first year as a grad assistant. I did all undergrad here at University of Nebraska-Lincoln as well as an intern, and I am studying integrated media communications. Awesome.
Max?
Hey, how's it going? Max Miller coming to you live from Villanova University, national champions in men's basketball, coordinator of club sports, and then I was a graduate assistant with Rochelle Harvey at Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas. Before that, I was let's go Wildcats and wait, goodness, eat 'em up Cats. Yeah, on to the next one. Pat Shank.
Hey everyone, I'm Pat Shank. Coming from Westchester, Pennsylvania. I'm the graduate assistant for facilities and management here. I am the incoming Region 1 student leader. I am a first-year graduate assistant here, and I did my undergrad at Temple University. However, I'm kind of with Max on the Nova Nation thing.
All right, and then can we hear Kelsey? Is Kelsey there?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm sorry that I can't have you guys see me right now.
That's okay. We can hear you, so if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Perfect. Hey, everyone. My name is Kelsey Jones. I'm currently the competitive sports graduate assistant at the University of Florida, and I am the incoming Region 2 student leader.
Awesome. And then last but not least, Jordan, how about you?
Hey everybody, coming to you from the West Coast here at Washington State University in Pullman. I have been on campus here for 6 years. I was a student employee for our university recreation department. Loved every single second of it. Did everything from intramurals to recreation supervising to assisting, with general office needs. I am also a part of the incoming student leadership team, serving in the Region 6 position. And I am a first-year graduate assistant for the shared facilities position here at Washington State University.
Perfect. I'm also from Washington State, so I'm just going to say West Coast, Best Coast, holla, all the things. All right, so we're going to start with the first question, and if you all would like to just kind of jump in with your input as we go through, that would be lovely. So we all would love to know, what is your favorite thing that you learned at the NIRSA annual conference this year?
I'll start. One of the sessions I went to, I guess, was a lot about how to market yourself, and it was really interesting because the speaker, her name was Brittany from CSU, and she kind of talked about what social media channels, what you should use them for, and what things you should post, and how you should use them to better market yourself for jobs. So I thought that was very interesting. Also, just learning more about my Region 5 role was another awesome thing that I learned.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, going off of that, what Tiffany was saying there at the end, it was great for us as a student leadership team to be able to meet and really meet face-to-face for the first time and kind of get to analyze how everything went from what the outgoing SLT has done, and they did such a phenomenal job advocating for students and putting on a lot of the best programs that we've seen in a long time for them. So shout out to our outgoing folks. You did a great job. I really enjoy the marketing roundtable. That's always one of my favorite things every year, to be able to benchmark with other institutions and folks and see what people are doing across the country, what we're doing similarly and different as well. So that's always one of my favorite pieces.
Great, thanks so much.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of that, I'm always like, this is my second annual conference I've been to, and I'm always just like, so you just forget how big NIRSA is. Like, you get so stuck in your institution and like what's going on there that you forget like the giant impact that NIRSA has. And I don't think I can like focus on one single session that I attended, but like you learn so much from the people you meet there and the people that you connect with, and especially this go around for me and meeting the new network and the outgoing network. I really think this was very beneficial, and it was just great overall. I learned so much, I thought.
Great.
Yeah, for me here out on the West Coast, NIRSA doesn't have quite as big of an impact. At first, originally, 2-3 years ago, NIRSA to me was the governing body for intramural sports. They put out the rules each year that I officiated underneath. But just going back to the annual conference, I feel like you really get to appreciate just like why NIRSA was formed and how it was formed and the time period that it was formed. And I feel like you can definitely see how the original messages and mission statements really have played out throughout the years. Like the fact that we focused on inclusivity is so obvious from the roots that it came into. And also I really just appreciate, I feel like a lot of the original development happened in the South, and y'all are so big on tradition, and so I really like the tradition that you get to see at the annual conference. And then obviously we're just so big on leadership, and that again is very well represented by how much mentoring just goes on with the NIRSA family. So those are some of my favorite things.
Awesome, thank you. Kelsey, are you there?
I am.
Awesome. What was your favorite thing?
Pretty much especially about like what Jordan was touching on, and then what Tiffany was touching on more towards the end, when they were really talking about the role that NIRSA plays holistically. So this conference was a little bit different for me in terms of actually working more behind the scenes because of our incoming role, and so really being able to see what part NIRSA plays and getting to work with the people from NIRSA headquarters and really seeing what they do for us as a student leadership team, but then beyond that, everybody that is a part of NIRSA from the foundation. I just thought it was really, really awesome to be able to learn about the functions, the foundations, and how, truthfully, the member network and the student leadership team really do work together to find that common goal. And then even just going back to like the presentations and stuff, like everything is just building off of that foundation that we're setting, and we're continuing to live out throughout our roles, like on the student leadership team and things like that. So that was really impactful for me this year.
Awesome, thank you all so much. So we're going to move on to question number 2. So could you please describe to me how you kind of unpack the information from all of the sessions and apply them to your department in your planning for the upcoming year, and kind of maybe how your planning changes and maybe some ideas that you incorporate into your upcoming roles?
So I'm gonna go ahead and grab this one real quick. So something that's really, really important to me is intentionality. And so whenever I go to these conferences and we get bombarded with a lot of information and really good information, there's a couple different ways that I look at it. So first I start to look at what impact does it make on me in my personal life, but then also in my professional life. So where do I want to go? How am I going to get there? And how am I going to use this information to get me to where I need to go? And then I'll look at it from another aspect of, I'll look at the institution that I'm working at and kind of look at the vision and the mission of that particular university, or possibly when I'm going to start looking for a professional job, and tying in those things that I learned from the conference and those presentations and tying them into my future role or a job that I aspire to have in the future. And the last thing also, sorry, I wrote down notes when we were looking at these questions. Also, there's kind of 3 questions that I ask myself after the presentations of things that I want to take back with me. So I think what? So what did I learn from that? So what? Okay, so what was the point of me going to that presentation, and what was the information that really impacted me? And then the now what? So how am I going to take that information and now pass it along to my fellow student leadership team, or the other graduate assistants that I'm with, or the supervisors, the student supervisors I oversee? So looking at the what, the so what, and the now what, just to make sure that I take that knowledge that I've learned and actually apply it into what I want to do and who I want to be.
Awesome, thanks so much.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking about very similar things. One thing I really enjoy doing after every conference is scheduling kind of a debrief meeting with my supervisor, whether he or she has been to that conference with me or not, so we can kind of collaborate and discuss. And the 3 questions that I always like to cover are, what did we learn, who did we meet, and how do we implement? And that's just kind of how I move forward with a lot of the conferences I've been to with or without my supervisor.
Yeah, I kind of did a similar thing as well. When we got back, I sat down with my direct supervisor, and we just talked about, all the things that we learned in these sessions, so that we can kind of see what we want to implement, like what's realistic, what we can do. But it's always kind of tough coming back because, after being away for a week, you kind of have a million things to do as soon as you get back. So we've kind of put that off until, like the summer, and then we'll see really what we can change up for next year and what we can get the ball rolling on for the fall semester.
I guess I do just about the same thing as everyone else. A lot of times we will have everyone that went to the conference share their favorite thing about it, or they'll share it at our all staff meetings so that everyone who didn't go can learn some of the information we did. And then I'll also take all the notes and all the stuff that I found really important. I'll type it up and put it in a folder that I can refer back to.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so we just had one of our big manager meetings with all the professional staff today, and the guy that ran the meetings, he kind of did a little bit on words from the mouse, just kind of overviewing that presentation. So I think our organization does a lot of similar things as far as just, unpacking it with our supervisors. I think exercises just like this are kind of how you unpack that information, just intentionally actually going over those notes that you took. I think that's a very basic thing, but it could get overlooked. The other thing I kind of like to do is, I'm trying to apply it while I'm listening to it. That way my notes are a little bit more meaningful rather than just going back and looking through kind of what was on the PowerPoint slides. But yeah, just being intentional in actually reviewing those notes several times.
Very nice. All right, Will, what about you?
Well, I talked about scheduling that meeting with the supervisor and going over things to and from with them, but I really enjoyed what Jordan just said about applying things actively during the sessions. I think that's really important and certainly can be overlooked throughout a lot of sessions.
Yeah, I guess so. Like one example is I went to a well-being session, and it actually ended up being a lot more about equipment than I expected it to be, but it gave me some time to start thinking about how I could apply some of those things. So, just specific exercises that I could possibly give staff or just in general student employees, just like time management exercises, things like that that actually make well-being and something that's tangible and applicable rather than just a definition that we kind of constantly review.
Okay, very nice. Thanks, y'all. All right, so we're going to move on to the third question. So NIRSA Annual especially is huge, and there are so many wonderful people that you meet. So could you please tell us maybe one of your favorite tips or tricks for not only remembering who you meet, but also following up with everybody that you were able to network with?
Social media is essential, especially for that, in my opinion. I I really enjoyed not only following the people that I network with, their social media accounts, whether it's Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, being able to message that way and connect, but also their institutions as well from a marketing and social media standpoint, to be able to benchmark and connect with them in that regard. So.
I guess my biggest thing is to always email them, especially if they took like the take a student to lunch, thanking them. And then I guess after I emailed one of the professionals, she added me on Facebook, and that's when I realized maybe I should take it a step farther and do what Will said and start adding people on social media. I think that would be more beneficial than one email.
One thing that I always do whenever somebody gives me one of their business cards, what I'll do afterwards is actually, once they walk away, I'll kind of take a moment to myself and write down a couple of the things that we talked about on the business card, and then I'll keep them collected somewhere safe so that when I get back to my institution, I'll just send them a quick email of, hey, I really enjoyed talking about X, Y, and Z. I hope that we can reconnect in the future. It was awesome meeting you, and just having that quick follow-up.
Scott Flickinger wanted to let everybody know that you should wear a cowboy hat to get noticed, or do something that'll make you very noticeable throughout the conference.
Unless it's dancing on tables or being that person. So don't do either of those, but. All right, Pat, what about you?
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing as everyone else, kind of piggybacking off of what Kelsey said. That's a good idea to write it down. I haven't done that, but that's probably something that I'll do in the future. And I usually just try to remember like one or two things that we talked about that were either like key or essential or were just notable when I got to chat with them or hang out with them, and just make sure I have that in the email when I send it to them. And just saying it was great to meet you at the conference, and I hope we stay connected, and I'll see you at Region 1, or if you're at the annual conference next year. Pretty much just along those lines like everyone else.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah, and so this is going to be a little bit of a different statement from me, but I think for me it's a lot about just consistency and humanization of the process, especially with the people that I networked with that I'm actually going to be working with. I really like to make some phone calls. I just feel like it can be a lot more personable, and sometimes, and I'm not trying to criticize anybody because obviously I send emails, constantly, but a lot of times when you see an email pop up in your inbox, it just feels like another task or more work, and I don't want that to be associated with me and our relationship that I have with that person. So that's one of my goals in general, actually, is just to make some phone calls, talk to people, humanize the process just a little bit more.
Very nice. And that's actually a really great point, because a lot of people in our generation do not like to pick up the phone and actually make a phone call. A lot of people are very scared to call, and that definitely will kind of set you above the rest if you give someone a call, leave a message, and actually talk with them face to face.
That's great.
All right. Yeah.
I know we're a little bit new age as a younger SLT, but you cannot go wrong with a handwritten note either.
Oh no.
Think about the last time someone wrote you a handwritten note and you got that in the mail and how that felt. That's right. I had a student from East Strasburg send me a letter in the mail. Dimitri, if you're watching, man, I appreciate you. Felt good, And think about when you write a handwritten note, how it feels to be able to send that and know that someone's going to get that feeling too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that is, I received this in the mail and I almost cried. It was the nicest thing that I have received as a young professional, to have somebody be like, hey, it was great meeting you.
That's right.
I will now remember this person's name, and it's Megan Sibley. She's wonderful. She's an excellent human being. You all probably know her. And she's absolutely the greatest. So making things as personal as possible, because Stan Shingles likes to say, it's not what you know or who you know, it's who knows you.
That's right.
It's kind of how I try to live my life. All right, so what's some advice that you could give, or let's kind of talk about what happens if you don't necessarily get a GA position or a full-time position right off the bat, either out of undergrad or out of grad school?
Well, I have a shameless plug for Villanova University. We offer a full-time 10-month internship that can definitely give that undergrad the next step to get a GA, or that graduating graduate assistant, that extra bit of experience that'll land them their perfect professional job. So definitely take a look out on Bluefish for some professional internships if you're looking for a little more experience.
Yeah, Max, I can attest to that too. I did a 10-month full-time internship at Duke University, and I wasn't able to successfully line up finding a grad school that was the right fit as well as a GA at that school. And NIRSA happened, and my internship kind of fell into place, so it was a blessing. And also Megan Normansell, who's not with us on our SLT, she's not on the call. She's at Texas A&M. She also did an internship down at Florida Gulf Coast University, and that really benefited her as well. So don't undervalue the 10-month internship.
Very awesome. All right, and also just coming from experiences I've had with all of my network of people, when you're coming out of your GA, if you don't line up your first full-time position right out of the gate, it's not the end of the world. There are a lot of professional staff members that wait, or maybe they have to go on 5 on-campus interviews, maybe they have to go on 15 on-campus interviews. There are a lot of people fighting for a very finite amount of positions. So if you don't get that first position that you go to interview for, it is perfectly okay, and it is always better to apply for more rather than less. All right, so we're gonna kind of talk about NIRSA a little bit, and could you all kind of talk to us about how you got, your personal story, how you got into your GA position, because we all know we don't go to grad school thinking we're going to work in campus recreation. We all kind of fall into it. So if you could please go ahead and let us know kind of what NIRSA means to you and how you came to be in the position that you are in now, that would be wonderful.
So I guess I'll jump out here and start us off. My senior year at Temple, I was a business major. I was human resources, and I kind of realized that's not what I wanted to do with my life. And having worked at the rec centers at Temple's campus, I really liked what my bosses did and my supervisors, and being a facility supervisor myself, I really enjoyed the position. So I thought, maybe I should start looking into this, and they really helped me out over there. And I just kind of grinded for those last few months. I went to the annual conference in Dallas last year, and I slept on Zach Watson's floor to save money for 4 days. So my back was hurting for 4 or 5 days, but it was definitely worth it. And I really just, like you said before about jobs, I just applied to everything that was available, anything that I felt that I could fit into. And I was lucky enough to land on Westchester, which is, right near where I live and right outside of Philadelphia, which I love. And it really just worked out for me. So you just really work hard for it and try to do as much as you can to get ahead. That'll be my recommendation.
For me, I would say that how I got into my grad assistantship isn't that exciting. It's more how I got into my internship. I worked in member services the first 3 years of undergrad, and I was consistently trying to find an internship elsewhere. And I was like, I need to get out of the rec center. This is not going to help me with my advertising dream. So couldn't find anything. Finally, I reached out to the marketing coordinator here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I think he turned me down about 3 times till I finally got an internship here. And he ended up loving me, obviously, because he gave me the grad assistantship. So that's kind of how all that worked out. So basically, don't give up.
So I started out in officiating basketball when I was a freshman because my parents were like, hey, go get a job. And I was like, okay. And I saw these people officiating, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I can't play basketball, so why not officiate it? And so it just kind of took off from there. And I know that in my institution we talk a lot about lollipop moments, and so I oftentimes think about my lollipop moment, and it happened my sophomore year. And my mentor, by the name of Victoria Landron, she works at the University of Madison, or University of Wisconsin-Madison. She actually took me aside at one of the basketball training camps and was like, "Hey, I think you could be a leader within UCF, where I did my undergrad, within the program here. I just want you to think about it." And that kind of really was important to me because in high school I was always really active, and I felt like I was kind of losing that touch in college. So her taking that initiative to come and talk to me, that was a really big thing, and probably one of the most impactful things that happened to me in my undergrad in order to now lead me to where I am today. So I kind of knew by the end of my sophomore year that I was going to be a graduate assistant. I had just fallen in love with the program. I fell in love with the students. I fell in love with what people did and or how they impacted my life, and I knew I wanted to give that to other people. So I remember there was a point in time when I was a senior and I had graduated, or I had applied to quite a few different schools for a GA-ship, and I remember like thinking, this is a very exciting time because I don't know where I'm going to be next year, but I know it's going to be somewhere. And so if you're nervous because you haven't gotten that assistantship yet, or you haven't gotten that internship yet, like, it is out there and it's going to fall perfectly into place. Even if you don't get your number one spot, you will end up exactly where you need to be for your future. So just don't worry. Like, being at the University of Florida is the best thing that's happened to me so far, and just the impact that NIRSA has had on my life is incredible. I would not be the incoming Region 2 student leader working with all of these 6 other people on my SLT, like, without NIRSA. So I'm all about NIRSA.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess my story is kind of interesting in the fact that I'm GAing at the school that I went to my undergrad at. And so, you know, there's definitely some advantages and disadvantages there. One advantage was that I was very passionate about improving our programs that had done so much for me and my development. Disadvantages are that, you know, you're working for another job in your same institution, and generally institutions do like to hire from outward because, you know, bringing in those fresh ideas is essential to campus recreation in general. And actually, I initially did not get either one of the graduate assistantships that I applied for. I applied for both of the graduate assistants positions that I kind of had worked underneath in my undergrad, and I didn't get either one of them. And some of that was because they wanted, you know, me to go and develop elsewhere. I originally was going to be a high school science teacher, and one thing that I've learned kind of throughout my college career is that I was much more passionate about teaching people about skills that they could develop in their life that are just going to take them farther in anything that they do. And that's really why I wanted to be a teacher. And not quite as passionate about the science stuff, although that stuff is great and I do love it. But I was more passionate about just, you know, student development is a good term to use for it. I think one thing that's important is to never get bitter in that rejection process. You know, it's not. I heard a quote the other day that was like, you know, bitterness is like taking poison with someone and waiting for them to die. You're both going to die from being bitter. It's not going to be a good process or a healthy process for either one of you, so don't partake in it. You know, and I think that I was able to quickly kind of get out of that stage, and I became eager to just, you know, show my competency, show my worth. And by May or June, only a month after graduation, I got a phone call that a position came open and they wanted me to fill it. So things work out, and they have worked out. And one of the questions that we kind of prepared an answer for was what to do once you do get that position. And I read a book. About it's called Every Town's a Sports Town, and it was just business leadership, but it was centered around the ESPN organization, and I really enjoyed that process. So I'd recommend it for others.
I think that Kelsey hit it when she said, you know, if you surround yourself with good people, things are going to fall into place. And there are so many good people in this organization and association. I love sharing my story about how I ended up at JMU for my GA. Being from Virginia, my top two choices as far as going to school for undergrad were Virginia Tech and JMU. And Virginia Tech was always home. It's where my father went to school. It just always felt like home. And so things fell into place for me to be able to go there for undergrad, and also fell into place for me to be able to get a job as a marketing assistant for Campus Rec and work in facilities and things like that. As I shared earlier, the GA track didn't work out immediately when I graduated from undergrad. And so I pursued that internship with Duke University, and it was so great for me. And one of the most beneficial things from Duke was a professional development series that us as interns got to go through. We went through things like, resume edits, cover letter edits, but the big piece for me was we did mock interviews. And they challenged us to find a job on Bluefish or a GA or something that we wanted, hand it to them. They would develop questions based on that and interview us. And ironically enough, that look at Bluefish was the day that JMU's GAs opened, and I got to see that there were 5 GA openings. There was a marketing one finally, because they do it every other year, and there was a chance to apply. So I did my mock interview with Duke in that professional development for as if I was applying for JMU. Got an interview. I think it was maybe a week or two later I came up to JMU and interviewed, and because of that practice and the work that the people at Duke put in, it really set me up for success in that interview and to be able to get to JMU today. So Kelsey said it, but it's all about the people, and they help things fall into place.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Max, do you want to share your story a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my start at Rutgers University working in intramural sports. Started off my college career a little rough. Had struggled with the academics. I met with my advisor, who was the director of intramural sports, and he offered me a job as a softball official. I umped a little bit, got into it a little more in my sophomore year, and then just worked my way up the intramural ladder. Applied for intramural GA positions, and then that really wasn't working out for me, so I tried a new way at it with going for sport clubs. So applied to Texas State University for their sport club GA. Went there, really fell in love with sport clubs and how we work with the same students on an everyday basis, same students coming in the office, and really. With that, it really has developed my passion for NIRSA and passion for collegiate rec, which has been great over the past couple of years. NIRSA is a great opportunity to meet people, network, learn, and grow. NIRSA is a very supportive organization and association, which I value completely as a professional in the field, and working with students in the field who are interested, and even students at the university who aren't totally interested in going into campus rec at all. Just explaining NIRSA to them and what it has to offer for intramural sports or for new ideas for fitness center management or sport clubs. It's a great opportunity. So that's really my little story through NIRSA and what NIRSA means to me.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And just for me, I have a history degree from undergrad, so I didn't particularly like people. And I have always been a swimmer, played water polo in college, worked in aquatics, did literally all of the aquatics things, became a facility supervisor, and all of my bosses at one point conspired against me, and they were like, hey, you need to get your life together, apply for the scholarship. I got a scholarship to NIRSA, went and met a whole bunch of people that were nowhere near as qualified for me for aquatics positions, and I was like, I've never been to Texas. That sounds cool. Applied, got the position, met Max Miller, and spent 2 great years in Texas, and then managed to get a job in the field. And NIRSA for me has been an absolutely amazing experience, and I NIRSA is one of the best things that has ever happened to me, because I'm a very social person, and everybody that gets into NIRSA loves NIRSA. And the group of people that we work with, we're so fortunate that, for instance, all y'all folks that are on here right now, you are taking this leadership position and you are really passionate about what you do. So we're very fortunate to have this level of commitment and dedication for all of the folks that are here with us. So we thank you very much. Does anybody have any final thoughts, any last words before we sign off?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to jump off of what you said there about how you were just kind of like, Texas, what's going on down there? I think it's so important to keep an open mind, especially if you're an undergrad looking for a GA position. It's like I'm kind of contradicting myself because I went 30 minutes down the road outside of Philadelphia when I grew up there. But just keeping an open mind because you can go somewhere for 2 to 3 years. You really can find out a lot about yourself in that time. Just kind of getting away from where you've always grown up or where you did your undergrad at. Like for instance, last year I didn't even want to go to the annual conference just because it was in Dallas, and I grew up just absolutely hating the Dallas Cowboys because I'm an Eagles fan, and like I didn't even want to go, but like my boss kind of talked me into it, keep an open mind, just go down there, it'll be fine, and it was very eye-opening. I got a ton out of it. I got my GA position, and yeah, so that's just my best advice is keep an open mind about where you're looking and what you're going to do.
I was going to say one last thing also, kind of going off of what Rochelle was talking about when she was talking about the NIRSA family, kind of what we have here. And something that I've really learned this year, which might sound a little bit naive, but whenever I used to think of a mentor, I would think of somebody who was older than me in terms of I aspired to have similar characteristics, or maybe they have a job that I would want to get in the future. And so what I've really learned this year is a mentor could be somebody sitting next to you for 2 years as a graduate assistant, or it could be even one of your student supervisors. There's one of my supervisors who's graduating this year. She's a year younger than me, but there's so many awesome qualities about her that I'm just like, Christina, I want to be just like you. And so keep that in mind, that as you're going from your undergrad to your grad, or grad to professional job, or you're in your first year in grad school, look at the people that are around you, maybe not necessarily older than you, and pick up on things that they do that you can learn from, and that's going to help you big time in learning those transferable skills or gaining qualities that you might need areas of improvement in. So that's a big, big thing that I've learned in my first year of GA.
Awesome. Does anybody have any other final thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to share one more thing. I know the Ripples guy is always big at every conference. Paul Wesselman. He shared a quote, and it was really simple, but it resonated with me to share in terms of people that are still searching for that GA or that full-time position and haven't gotten it at this point. And he said, "All no's lead to better yeses." And it's as simple as that. Stick with the process. There's so many jobs still popping up, and the process is still happening. So it really is important to remember that all no's do lead to better yeses. And I'm excited as a member of the student leadership team to see how we can help the students in the coming year with all of that.
I don't know what. Oh, there you go. You miss all the shots you don't take.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. Just like Wayne Gretzky said it, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
And my biggest Paul Wesselman quote that really, and Paul Wesselman is the reason I decided to go into NIRSA. He said, "More no's for better yeses." So I love him. I could talk about him for days, but I'm not going to make everyone listen to that. So we would like to thank all of our guests on behalf of Rec Chat. And please, everyone, make sure to keep a lookout over the summer for Rec Chat updates for topics that are coming up for next year. If you have any suggestions that you would like to see for the upcoming year, please feel free to direct message us, to tweet at us, whatever you would like to do. Until then, my name is Rochelle Harvey. Make sure you have a wonderful week, and thank you so much for watching and participating in Rec Chat.
Thanks, everyone.